It should play that game strictly in the Rose Bowl.
Don't worry, we're going back there next year to build upon this Big Ten rivalry. That
should be a home and home. Only play that game in the Rose Bowl exclusively.
Tell Michigan sorry.
Yeah,
you just never get to host Southern Cal. I don't know what to tell you. So we'll get into not only South Carolina and Akron, but we'll get into some other big games around the country. Clemson. I don't know what to think of Clemson anymore after last night. Did you get into any South Alabama, Appalachian State?
No, but my Twitter tells me that apparently maybe Clemson might have broke App State.
You know, we talk about there's been certain schools, Miami, Nebraska, Tennessee, maybe you can count Florida State in there, that just, are they ever coming back? And, boy, after last night, you got to wonder, is App State broke? Like, is that – because that was a beating in Boone to where by about midway through the second quarter, Preston, I don't know how you feel about this because I kept trying to put myself back in my college shoes, sliding down a mudslide. Like, whatever you wore to the game, you just decide to go down a hill in a mudslide and end up at the bottom.
It wouldn't have been my thing, but I can understand the theory behind it. So, wait, but what you're telling me is App State superpowers only activate against Power 4 teams? Is that what you're saying? The lazy narrative only applies to – because this has been a thing for a couple of years now where the rest of the teams that they play in their conferences, they're like, yeah, we don't care about you.
We're not scared of you anymore.
We're not scared of you. But then when they play a big team, everybody,
watch out.
Watch out. Here they come.
They were like the darling underdog as a 17-point underdog against Clemson to the point of like, look out, they're on upset alert. I think the Athletic had them as like the big upset of the week and everything. And Clemson
it only activates against P4 teams.
Essentially, yes. And so last night though, that ball game was basically 28-7 at halftime, and they were getting run over by a running back named Fluff.
Oh, okay, that's a good nickname.
So it was not what they wanted last night. 48-14, the final in Boone last night. And then on top of that, you had some NFL last night. A rare change for me, if you will. I ended up, because that game was becoming such a blowout in Boone, I flipped over and old Aaron Rodgers looked like 26-year-old Aaron Rodgers, just zipping it all over the field. There was a weird, very odd, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, interaction with Robert Saleh after a touchdown last night in which Robert Saleh was either way too excited or Aaron Rodgers does not like his head coach. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I did see it. Robert Saleh seems like he probably is a little bit emotionally stunted, so it might have been him.
Okay, all right.
It might have been him.
If you don't know what we're talking about, number one, it was 24-3 last night. The Jets rip open the Patriots, but after a touchdown, I believe to make it 14-0. Aaron Rodgers is coming over to the sidelines. Robert Saleh greets him, appearing to want him to just give him a hug. Just give him a hug and celebrate the moment, to which Aaron Rodgers gets his forearms up, his hands at first to prevent said hug, and then like stares him down like something illegal is going to happen between the two of them.
Yeah, like I said, Robert Saleh doesn't seem to be, doesn't quite, I don't know. He seems very, very focused and determined.
Yeah. Well,
human interaction might not be his thing.
Well, and like I said, last night, Aaron Rodgers, there's the stare that you're looking at where Aaron Rodgers just like, come on, man. We don't do that. It was something. You can look it up this morning if you want as you get to your office and get going. We got some more games tonight, especially on the college level, where we'll have a few decent games, kind of like the little appetizer leading into tomorrow, so you can get a little more fired up for college football. And what I wouldn't say a great weekend, good weekend, not a great weekend.
I'm gonna resist that, because the point of college football is that stupid things will happen this weekend.
It's true.
And that will turn it into it's not a marquee weekend where you have all these big name programs.
Word. There you go.
But something silly, something noteworthy, something ridiculous will happen this weekend, as opposed to the NFL, where it's usually just, you can call games big weekends in the NFL because, I mean, really, who are the Panthers going to beat?
Right.
They're not. But something silly will happen this weekend in college football.
Well-known top 25 battle tonight, though. And Friday Night Football has been able to put some really good matchups together. But what was it? What was the game that we labeled that got us into the corn jerker discussion? If it was that was Illinois and
is tonight is today the corn jerker bowl?
Tonight is officially the corn jerker bowl, and you have one team called the Corn Huskers that are actually involved. Number 24 Illinois and former Gamecock coach Justin Stepp. Number 22 Nebraska and former coach Marcus Satterfield, who I will just say apparently are not friends of each other. Neither is getting a Christmas card from the other's family.
Yeah, when they're doing the press conferences, he's like, "Yeah, so Coach Stepp, you worked with Marcus Satterfield. A lot of respect for the guy. It's a great time in South Carolina."
You, sir, are not full of the truth. I can tell you that.
A lot of corn there, man. That game's gonna be popping.
Oh wow, good job.
Right in there.
Right in there. Doesn't look like she's paying attention at all, but she was more than paying attention and ready to go. There, Jen weighs in. Thank you, by the way, for helping with your. I still don't know what happened because I was busy, but the salute to Bill Gunner that was provided by you and Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell yesterday. Very polite of y'all, I believe. I have no clue what happened. I do know the jokes must have been very solid because I had about 7 text messages yesterday saying that y'all were having a good time at my expense.
We might have been.
Yeah.
There was a special salute I had.
I heard about that. I heard that you tend to tell me I'm number one very early in the morning. So I appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed hanging out with Elijah and Jay yesterday, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Saw a very good picture of y'all, so that was awesome. But, yeah, Illinois, Nebraska tonight, Preston Thorne. Also, you've got well-known ACC long time, dating back to Katie Ledecky, Stanford at Syracuse in a little ACC matchup tonight.
Oh, yeah. Again, because my brain hasn't really calibrated to put Syracuse in the ACC yet. So I feel like I'm about 10 years behind on that one. So I'm like, this is a Big East Pac-12 matchup, and it's not. It's not.
It's a really interesting night of college football, just from the little, welcome to the new era of college football. Stanford and Syracuse, I mentioned, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Ranked Illinois, ranked Nebraska. And then if you just wanted to cap it off, nothing like some 10 o'clock football on the CW network, Preston, where you get San Jose State at Washington State. CW network is what stands out to me about that.
Okay. All right.
So there's your football for tonight. We'll get into a lot of South Carolina football this morning. Preston's got a vibe check that he wants to get into. We'll hear about some injuries. And I want to get into your game day superstitions and whether you follow through with them against Akron. Like, how dedicated are you to your superstitions that you might have when it comes to your favorite team? You can be a Clemson fan, you can be an LSU fan, you can be a Miami fan. I want to know this morning your superstitions. Do you have certain socks you wear, a certain jersey you got to wear, a certain polo that you got to wear, and what happens when you do not wear that, or when your team loses, do you change up? Because we'll get into Shane Beamer's comments yesterday, and I loved him in Carolina Calls because Shane Beamer said, well, I didn't think I had many superstitions, but then when the caller called in and asked and I started thinking about it, turns out I got a bunch. So
no, I'm not superstitious at all. Let me put my right sock back on. Let me put one sock on at a time.
It was great on Carolina Calls last night because they got a call about superstitions on game day leading up to it. And he goes, well, I don't have many, and then rattled off 3 with zero problem whatsoever before realizing, oh, I'm quite superstitious. So I'll let you hear from that. Again, we'll get a vibe check. Tony Annan due up this morning. A couple of y'all weighing in. Chris, the hunt for October is real. Yeah, I don't know how much baseball we'll talk yesterday, but good grief. Braves win yesterday. They dominate the Reds. And on the flip side of that, the last I saw when I went to bed, I shouldn't just say this. I shouldn't just assume that the Mets ended up winning last night. But the last I saw as I went to bed last night, Mets were in complete control of the Phillies. In that game, they ended up winning 10-6, so no ground gained last night for the Braves, who are still 2 back.
Also, we had history made last night.
That was the next thing I was going to come to. It did help with a positional player having to pitch late in that game for Shohei Ohtani to pick up another home run to get to 51-51.
Listen, man, he's amazing. He's amazing, and thank God he left the Anaheim Angels or the California
we'd have
Angels.
No clue about.
Yeah, man. Glad he got out of there.
So there's a little baseball update. Braves last night again, or yesterday. Chris Sale picks up the win. He is the Major League leader in wins, 15-3 for the Braves. But the Mets last night knock off the Phillies 10-6 in that matchup. The series for the Mets and the Phillies will continue tonight, 7:10 on Apple TV. Braves head down to Miami to get the Marlins, who are reeling from a 20-4 beating that the Dodgers put on them.
Yeah, just put them out of their misery.
Yeah.
Just get them out of there. They need to look across the field and say, fellas, y'all have nothing to play for. I'm not saying throw the game, but come on, really?
The Marlins are looking across going, here's the pitch we're throwing for the first 3 innings. In the game, be up a lot, and then let's just play the rest of the innings
This
out.
would be a great case if there was a run rule in MLB. They'd be like, look, let's do this. Bottom of the fourth, you score 10.
It's like Tennessee telling Kent State, running clock?
Yes.
Running clock? No?
Yes.
Okay, we'll beat you as bad as we can. Okay, running. Okay. So, yeah, we'll get into a bunch of that this morning here. There's a lot to get to. Chris Deering will join us to look at the high school matches for tonight. Tony Annan will be in studio. They've got a monster match over at the Graveyard that we'll get into as well. But first, let's get out to the phone lines. Gamecock Larry, I apologize. You got about a minute and a half. What you got for us this morning?
Well, I ain't got too much. Feeling good like an old man should. Got my spirit back, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm still upset. I know you don't want to talk about LSU. I'm still upset. We lost that game ourselves playing dumb football. We made some plays that penalties that never should have been. But if LSU was playing Alabama, Texas, Georgia, any of the top 5 teams in the SEC, none of those penalties would have been called. They wanted 5 teams in the playoffs at least in this new playoff they got. But that's all I got. But I want to say one thing. I want a blowout. I want a blowout. I want a blowout Beamer. Beamer, blow them out. 51-17. 51-17 Gamecocks. Look out, Gamecocks. When I predict something like that, you know what happened. That's okay. We're going to win. 51-17. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all.
Love you too, and sound very energetic this morning, which is great to hear. So 51-17 is the Gamecock Larry prediction. There are things I do want to see tomorrow. We'll get into that. We'll get into the injuries, and I want to find out people's superstitions. What are your superstitions when you have a South Carolina Clemson or Miami? I know Miami Chris always weighs in as well. I think we have an FSU Chris. So what are your superstitions? We'll get to those. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game.
Hey guys, it's Preston for your broker, my broker, Benji Getzy at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience in closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. Since 1997, Benji and his team have served thousands of investors with their dreams of real estate investing. And Buford Lending specializes in DSCR loans and fix and flip financing. Benji and his team are VA, FHA, and USDA government loan experts, and they offer competitive jumbo financing as well as conventional and construction lending. So call the good folks at Buford Lending today at 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
And taking a look out on the highway this morning, I-26 westbound, right there at I-126, there is a report of an accident. Things fairly clear otherwise. We'll welcome that and hope it stays that way. 87 for the high today, 88 and a mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. Beautiful day for some football. Sunday that we hit 91 and back in the upper 80s into next week. But right now it's pretty decent, 67 on the early game.
Yeah, certainly last Saturday was a physical game, and we had some guys that had some wear and tear, certainly, and normal bumps and bruises. We'll see as we get here to Saturday. Lenore, speaking to him specifically, he's done a little bit more in practice each day this week. He did more on Tuesday than what he did on Sunday. He did more on Wednesday than what he did on Tuesday, and he did more today than what he did yesterday. So we'll see how he is on Saturday, but he's progressing nicely. And then the other two that we're most concerned about would be Bengali Kamara and Jerry Brown. They're kind of in the same boat as Lenore. They both did a little bit more this week or each day this week. And then as far as everybody else, we're good. Nikki's good. I know he got banged up last week. He's fine. TJ Sanders is fine. Emery Floyd will be back. Dre Jacobs will be good to go. And then Trevon and Gage are both a week healthier as well.
That is Shane Beamer last night on Carolina Calls, giving us the injury report. Preston Thorne, the good news, TJ Sanders, who I believe it was yesterday, but it might have been Wednesday when CBS put out a mock draft and had TJ Sanders as a first-round pick. Had him going to the Buffalo Bills at pick number 30 on a CBS Sports mock draft. Went out with a foot injury last week. Probably did impact the Gamecocks a little bit coming down the stretch just in terms of depth, but he's expected to be back. But the guy that I'm most interested on that much like Lenora Sellers, I'm okay with Lenora Sellers not playing tomorrow as long as he's ready to go for Mississippi in that stretch coming up. I think Jared Brown needs to continue to play, too, and get the snaps and get the reps because he seems to really be coming along as wide receiver number one.
That makes a lot of sense. Seems like Shane and Dow are on the company line of Lenore's getting better, progressing daily. My question is, where is he progressing from?
That's a good point.
Right. So they keep saying that he's progressing and he's doing more and more, and I'll take them at their word for that. But what I don't know is where is he coming from? Because there's a distinct possibility that, yes, he could be progressing and getting better throughout the week, but he could only be to a certain point, and that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play. So I'm still not sold on whether or not he'll be playing or not. But it is good news to hear that, and I'll take them at their word, and I believe it. It's good to hear that he's progressing in whatever his injury was. I'm assuming it was an ankle.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I guess the question is it, and I've never really understood the difference, a high ankle versus a kind of a lower ankle. But maybe the best person to ask would be Ryan Brewer on that because it felt like he got that high ankle injury in 03 or 02 and just never healed. Mm-hmm. Just never was able to get through it. But let me say this before we get to deciding if players are injured, because I thought a lot about this yesterday. We've talked about it on a level of there is important things for this game. Number one, blowing out Akron and getting backups in the game, getting backups in the game so that they can get legitimate snaps. Guys that will have to play next year, say like a Fred Johnson at linebacker, because there's 5 senior linebackers. Poor Fred Johnson sitting in there like the rookie in the NBA league who can't do anything, whereas he's hanging out with all the 21 to 25-year-olds like
Yeah,
Oh,
Demetrius Knight is talking about putting his kids to bed, and Fred's like, "What?"
I'm trying to figure out how to get around campus. I don't. Where's the McDonald's here? Yeah, I mean, you think about it, him and Wendell Gregory are the two young pups sitting in that room, and the other guys are talking about their IRAs and so forth and so on. But you need to get a blowout to get him in. You need to get a blowout to get other guys in, too, younger players. But I also have talked about it for the offensive line, Preston, this being a gut check week. You've played Kentucky. You've played LSU. You've also played Old Dominion, but you've played better offensive lines or defensive lines. It's time for this offensive line to come out and physically dominate Akron. And I actually do not hold that just to the offensive line. The more I thought about it yesterday, if indeed Robbie Ashford is the quarterback, if that is indeed who it is, let him throw the quick screens out on the perimeter and challenge your wide receivers to block. That group, as well as the offensive line, needs to show a level of being physical that I don't know if we've seen yet. And if you want to take some of the pressure off of Robbie Ashford and make it, just throw the quick bubble screens and the quick little screens out and put guys like Jared Brown, if he's healthy, Vandrevius Jacobs, Mazio Bennett in one-on-one situations where they got to make a move and the wide receiver has to block.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We know about the struggles that they had with perimeter blocking early at the first game of the season. 2 weeks later, I assume they've gotten better, but they should be able to go out there and block and make the plays that they need to make. So, yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that.
Another thing that Shane, but this was actually really interesting yesterday because I believe it is a culture type thing of what you're asking your players to do. This is Shane Beamer on how they decide if how they're going to decide what exactly goes into the thought process throughout the week. Here's how Shane Beamer explained the thought process for letting injured players play last night.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Me, it's you've got to be able to do something on Tuesday or Wednesday. Right. I just think it's hard for a guy not to. We practice Sundays, so I think it's hard for a guy to not do anything Sunday. Monday's off, but to not do anything on Tuesday or Wednesday when that's the bulk of the game plan, and then to be able to go out there just on Thursday, which for us is a lighter practice. It's more red zone work. I just think it's tough to expect them to be able to perform well on Saturday. Now, I think every situation is a case-by-case basis, and every young man's different. But our general policy is that you've got to be able to, doesn't mean you do the whole practice, but you've got to be able to do something not limited maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday for us to feel confident putting you in a game on Saturday. And I think the other thing, too, is just making sure I never wanted to have a culture where, okay, you get banged up in the game before on Saturday, then you don't do anything the whole week of practice, and there you are back out there on Saturday. And your teammates see that, and I didn't want that to become a pattern around here, and it hasn't. So our guys are pretty good about, and I'll say it in meetings, look, if he can't do anything on Tuesday or Wednesday, we're not playing him Saturday, and they know that.
Your thoughts?
This is where it gets tricky, because if you're a position coach and the head coach makes the mandate of saying that if he's not doing anything on Wednesday, he's not playing, you hear that in your mind and you take your best player and you say, look, you have to do something today. And so you send your best player out there to do something. You say, hey, coach, look, Bill Gunner's running today. Look, he's ready to go. And then you sit Bill Gunner for the rest of the practice. And whenever Shane Beamer comes around, you play Bill Gunner. It's like, he can go. And then you rest him for the rest of the practice. You want to make sure that he gets that look because, yes, it is a policy, but we all know that there's wiggle room in any policy. And it also depends on who you are, how you're playing. And also there's a very vague definition of something. So according to what Shane said, I'm sure Lenoris is doing something. What is he doing? I don't know. So there's always a lot of ways that you can interpret these things. But, yes, that's usually the policy. If you're not practicing by Wednesday, you're not playing.
That was the Holtz philosophy?
Yeah.
Really?
And again, his was pretty ironclad, and that's why those assistant coaches would have to try and move around the system a little bit.
You'd be weekend at Bernie's it out there, like the assistant coach is holding you. Look, coach, look at him. Hold your hand up and wave.
He can go. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely that.
803-404-6100. So we are 2-0 when I'm wearing my Team Cool Beans T-shirt and sweats. 0-1 when going to the game. Not going to any more games this year. We'll be going to the bar in my PJs this weekend. That's one really good superstition. We'll give you more when we come back and let Shane Beamer give you his. Turns out he's got more than he realizes. We'll let you hear from him this morning. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Right now, the Mortgage Guru and First Palmetto Bank, they have an incredible offer. If you're thinking about moving to Richland County, if you want to live in Richland County, if you already live there and you're thinking about moving, they have an incredible offer called the Community Reinvestment Product. It's for Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor and the areas there. They are offering a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR, and that is on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You heard all that correct. Now, for more information, call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Again, call Jacob Crowder and learn more about the Community Reinvestment Product. You can also email him, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER, at firstpalmetto.com is the way to do that. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank.
Earlier tie-ups have been cleared, so all looking pretty good on the highways for your Friday morning. We'll take that. 87 is what we're looking forward to be our high. Overnight low 67. Tomorrow 88 with a mix of clouds and sun. And then on Sunday, looking for a high of 91. Should be very nice weekend weather. Currently 67 on 107.5 The Game.
6:35 as we get you up and get you going. I want to remind you, September is Hunger Action Month. The Game at Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Again, it is Hunger Action Month, and we here at the game have teamed up with Hardee's for the Hardee's Roundup. All you got to do, go to your participating Hardee's, round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount, and again, all donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. We have some Are you a superstitious person there, Preston Thorne? Do you consider yourself a superstitious person?
I think I've sort of let go of some of my superstitions. I did have, and when I played high school football, I did have a Ace shirt that I wore at every game. I had to make sure that I had that specific shirt on. But besides that, this past weekend, I walked into my mother's dwelling exactly as the pick six was being taken off the board, the first one. Mm-hmm. She told me to promptly walk back out and walk back in.
Oh, okay.
So we had to change that. And then I think LSU might have went on a little scoring run after that. So she was kind of looking at me like,
oh, me and Mama Thorne have a lot in common.
You might need to go.
Whether it's shirts or standing areas during the game, if things are going well. Shane Beamer didn't think he was very superstitious. And then last night he got a question at Carolina Calls, and he realized, I might have a little bit more superstition in me than I realized. Here's Shane Beamer last night at Carolina Calls talking about things he does starting on Friday morning that he is accustomed to doing with his family or whatever leading up to the game. Here's what he had to say.
I say that I'm not, and then I saw that questioner, and I realized I have a lot. And it's more the family. So, Friday mornings is a little bit of a slower morning. We don't practice on Friday mornings, so I can go into the office a little bit later. So I take my 3 children to breakfast somewhere on Friday mornings in Columbia, and we stay with the same restaurant as long as we're winning. But then once you lose, you have to pick a new restaurant, so we'll be somewhere new tomorrow. And then I usually get home, and before I go in, Emily, my wife, and I'll go for a walk, just the two of us, just to kind of catch up on the week, and we'll stay with the same route as long as we're winning, so we may have to mix it up. And then, and I'd say after that, the only other thing is we have 2 at our hotel in the room we eat in. We have 2 buffet lines for the players, so I'll stay in the same line as long as we're winning. So tomorrow night I'll have a different line that I'll get in as well. But other than that, I don't know.
Other than that, nothing. So basically 48 hours.
Yeah, so pretty much everything I do is based on.
There you go. Kids and breakfast, which he may be heading to right now, or maybe sitting there enjoying breakfast. If so, kids, make sure Coach, or Dad, as you would call him, not Coach, make sure Daddy Beamer gets you a donut this morning. Tell him the local radio host that he might make you listen to said you get a donut this morning. That could be your snack on the way to school after breakfast.
I could just imagine with one of the children seeing the loss, and they're like, "Man, I wanted that sausage biscuit, man. Like that's my favorite restaurant, and now we can't go there.
Hey, you got the good pancakes.
That's my favorite place, and now all of a sudden, we can't go there anymore."
And then the walk with the walk with the wife, understandable. Kind of get out and relax for a minute, but. Got to find a new route. I don't know how many routes he could take in his neighborhood.
Wait, no. Take a left. Take a left. We got to walk around.
And then, did you have anything like that? Did Holtz or anybody have anything like that when you were playing with anything at the team hotel?
Yeah, I mean, team hotel stuff, it definitely gets into that, like guys eating the same exact pregame meal, or I only get this specific thing. Yeah, a lot of that does happen a lot of times. And I don't know if people actually share those. I think there's some things you just keep in your mind. You don't want to seem too weird to everybody else, even though everybody else is doing the same type of thing. So it might be one of those things where you actually realize it, like Shane did. Like, oh yeah, I guess I do have some. But I can definitely see that. Like, oh no, can't go in the left line today. Got to go in the right line because left line gave us bad.
It didn't work last week. Yeah.
But the thing is, there's only 2 lines, so it's like, hopefully we don't get on the streak here.
Yeah.
Because then I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, then you're just really, then you just switch over and have somebody bring you your meal. Is that what it is? Mr. Watts weighs in. He's got a good point. Weekly reminder, tell students to bring their teacher a donut today as we pre-celebrate a Carolina win. That's a good one.
Solid.
I like that, Mr. Watts. Good job. And yes, kids, take your teacher a donut. Get yourself one. Have your parents get yourself one. Parents are going to hate me by the end of this, but yeah, have the parents get you a donut because it's Friday and take one to your teacher so that we have a good.
It would be well appreciated. Yeah, sometimes you just stumble into these things like, oh, I had an extra donut and I gave it to my teacher and we won a big game, and so now I have to do it every weekend. Like that's usually how superstitions develop. You can't make them; they just sort of end up happening, and then you got to stay with it.
I will admit, I really only go to the superstitions for big games. That's why I asked, because it's Akron this week. So I feel like if you're going to try a shirt out or try a hat or try a pair of socks or try something different, this is the week you try it. This is the week you try it.
I'm not a believer in that. I feel like if this is what you do during the season, you have, because this game counts.
It does.
This game counts, and you don't want to be the person that just because you decided that you wanted to wear your fancy different shirt this weekend, you don't want to be the reason why we all suffer. You have to do your part. Okay. So even if it means wearing the old crusty shirt, you have to do it.
I want to look in the hamper this morning then to make sure it was washed from last week.
If it's not washed, either get it washed or suffer. But you have to do it.
This is where I get a little odd. This is where I get a little superstitious on being superstitious. Like I believe. Texter weighs in. We were 0-1 on Dylan Stewart's birthday. Good point. Thankfully, it shouldn't come about again where we play on Dylan Stewart's birthday to keep that one from getting us in trouble.
That's analytics.
Good point. But yeah, like I feel like any lucky or superstitious things I have to do are saved for the big games. So, for example, back in 2010, the Eastern Division run where South Carolina won the East and went to the SEC. While I knew that the Auburn game in Atlanta was a big game, I did wear. I got forced to wear my lucky shirt that we had not lost in all season, my lucky polo. And I tried to explain to my friends, like, look, the odds of us winning here are not good. I shouldn't have to wear this shirt for this game because if we lose, all the luck is beaten out of this shirt.
It's true.
And I don't feel like it's a 50-50 game. I was forced to wear the shirt. We all know what happened. And after that shirt was never lucky again. That shirt was never the same. And now I've tried to go away from the superstitions just a little bit, believing that my wearing of something or doing something does not impact my team.
Yeah, well, listen. You can believe that if you want, but the rest of us know the truth. And the truth is what we do impacts the team greatly. So don't change locations during the middle of a game like I did. I might have been partly responsible for that. Make sure you wear whatever shirt you're supposed to wear. Do eat whatever you're supposed to eat. Whatever you're supposed to do, just make sure you do your part, especially in Akron week, because we don't want anything silly to happen.
This is true. And I also say, don't be afraid to ruffle feathers like I did at the Alabama game in 2010, I believe, where as it appeared coming down to the fourth quarter, we were and I wouldn't allow any of them. I had about 3 friends there. I had a significant other there. I would not allow them to go to the bathroom or to move where we stood.
Kidnapping.
Forcible where you are. Now, I figured if we won, everybody would be happy afterwards, and it turned out they later on were. But during the game, nobody was very pleased with me, with where I was allowing everybody to sit and stand, and we ended up winning the game. I take great pride in that.
I am interested in hearing what people's superstitions are because I have a feeling there are a lot of them.
John weighs in. We haven't made chicken bog on game day since 63-17. We'll get to a few more of these. Send in your superstitions for for your team. Whatever you do, we'll read those on air. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Wrapping up hour number 1. We'll get Chris Deering on in the next hour to give us some high school highlights of the week. We'll get Tony Annan on to talk about the big match this coming week this tonight. And we will give away some tickets when he gets in. Big match tonight against number 6 Marshall over at the Graveyard. You're definitely going to want to get out and be a part of the fan festival. The festivity. Never mind. Just forget it. That's going to bother me for a while. That one didn't come out properly. But you're going to want to get over and be a part of the atmosphere tonight over there. Festivities. Is that right? I nailed that finally?
Festivities.
Boy, did I really lose confidence on that as I walked my way through that. You're going to want to get over there at 7 o'clock tonight, and we'll have Tony Annan in studio here coming up in just a little while. 803-404-6100. Let me get to a couple of these here, and then we'll get to a vibe check. Mike, doing what I think most of us would do. I think this is the starter of it. He says he used to buy a new game day shirt before every season. Gave that up during the Muschamp era. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Beth from Lamar got very creative. Starting in 2009 for the Clemson game, we served cheese grits with sausage because it was a noon game.
Good pick.
Then when we were tailgating or at home watching, we had the same breakfast. At home, we sent plates to all of our Clemson family. It was 2014 before they realized what I was doing.
Nice. And that's how things start. And all of a sudden, years later, your grandchildren are wondering why we eat cheese, grits, and sausage every day. And it's like, let me tell you about 2019.
There you go. Another text weighs in. Had a high school friend eat a box of milk bones before each game. We ended up winning the state championship.
We heard that. Did I hear that properly?
On purpose?
Had a high school friend eat a box of milk bones before football games. Ended up winning the state championship.
Poor Fluffy. What's Fluffy gonna do?
But if I'm thinking of, okay, what would be a good luck charm?
It's high
I'm
school.
not looking around the house and saying, you know what, there's a dog biscuit
Actually,
right there.
Bill
whole
just
box.
gave the best answer.
It's high
It's
school,
high school?
man.
Yeah, I guess.
They're dumb. They're so dumb. We love
Clearly.
them, but they're so dumb.
Yeah.
It's high school. That's all I can say.
But they had a shiny coat, though.
I've heard of this one. My late husband would not let us eat chicken on game day.
Oh. Well,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've heard
I got
of
it.
see that.
I got it.
Yep. And LaDonna weighs in and has actually sent us a picture, her husband's lucky Gamecock shirt, and then she says it's kind of crusty. And is it cut at the bottom, LaDonna? Is that
Cropped is the
is
word.
it cropped? Has it become your lucky shirt? What is happening here with this shirt? At the bottom, I can't quite tell. It's hanging off of a side of a table there. But, yeah, keep sending those in, your superstitions on what you have before your team's game. Doesn't have to necessarily be South Carolina. It can be whatever school you pull for. That leads us into tomorrow. What are you going to do? But what is your vibe check for today?
Vibe check for today. As you know, or may not know, I'm not sure how much you've been paying attention this week, but we're playing the Akron Zips,
Okay.
which leads us to our vibe check. How you feeling? Zippity doo-dah
Oh.
or just zip it? I don't want to hear it anymore.
Nicely done. Mm-hmm. I think Gamecock Larry is in the zippity doo dah for sure. What, 50, 51, 17?
50.
50 or 51, 10?
Yeah, 17.
17, okay.
I go zippity doo-dah. I want to see tomorrow night.
How do you feel? Zippity doo-dah? Are you strolling into the stadium, skipping? Or are you just saying zip it? I don't want to hear nothing.
I'm going zippity doo-dah. I want to see some young players. I want to see a blowout. I want to see the offensive line. There's reason to go and be excited for this game, to see some things, to see the progress of the team in week 4 going into that bye week. I do not want to see a bad performance tonight. You cannot, or tomorrow night. You cannot go out and win this thing 21-14 and us going. This can't be an Old Dominion repeat.
Fair. You might feel zippity doo-dah. Somebody might feel zip it because they're not over last week. They're still not quite recovered from the tragedy that happened last weekend. That could be their feeling, or they just don't want to hear it because they're playing Akron and they don't think this game moves the meter much. So you can be varied in your opinion, and your opinion is yours. But zippity doo-dah or just zip it.
Texter weighs in, feeling zippity doo-dah.
There we go.
Mind you, this was the same texter that last week said Lenore Sellers University for LSU.
Like
so good job.
And I don't know if you copyrighted that, but I did see that sign at game day. I don't know what the advanced issues were, but I saw somebody had that sign on game day.
So goes zippity doo dah. Let's get out to the phone lines here. Got about a minute, Ryan. Let's get your superstition. Got about a minute.
Hey, y'all. Good morning.
Morning.
So, in 2010, when the Gamecocks won our first national championship, I went outside to grab a water out of the fridge, and I think Jackie Bradley Jr. hit a double. So for the rest of that tournament, my dad made me stay in the garage.
Smart man.
Good job, Dad. All right.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wouldn't change a thing. And to this day, whenever the Gamecocks are struggling, I go in the garage and listen to 107.5.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate the phone call, Ryan. That's a good... Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Co-pilot says probably more superstitious during away games. I'll move my kids to the spot they were sitting. If Carolina's playing good, he says I'll change my shirt if they're playing bad. I think most of it is just helping to get my nerves straightened out because of the game.
It's all fair. It's all fair.
And one more texter weighs in. Zippity doo dah. Excited for a night game as well.
Oh, big. Yeah, it's true.
There
I think
you
there's
go.
a special
Great for
light
family.
show happening. I think there's a lot of things happening.
We'll get into more. There's 2 hours to go. We got plenty.
They say perfection is a journey, and our journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman because we were updating a bathroom in our house. And let me tell you, Carolina Stone Craftsman in just outside of Columbia in Chapin were fantastic. We needed a countertop to go on our new cabinet, and we went to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Very impressed. Felt right at home right away. We toured their showroom. They showed us their selections of marble and granite and quartz and how they sculpt everything, and truly with the highest craftsmanship. So much to choose from. They were very helpful because we weren't sure what we wanted or needed, and they helped us with that. Every step of the process was great. Visiting the showroom, selecting the granite, measuring the house, and then the installation process was great. They cleaned up after themselves, which I always appreciate. So if you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or your bath, I encourage you to reach out to the Carolina Stone Craftsman and, of course, tell them Jen Jensen sent you. They invite you to take them for granite. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. Out there on the highways this morning, we are seeing clear conditions, so we welcome that and hope your Friday morning goes well as you're trying to get to school and work and all of that. And forecast is pretty clear as well. 87 for the high today, 88 tomorrow. 91 for Sunday under mostly sunny skies. Currently 67 in Columbia in the early game.
Up and at 'em, 7 a.m. Get the kids to school, as we have promoted. Get them a donut. Get them a donut to give to their teacher. Get up and let's get going on a Friday morning where I feel like a lot of you are zippity-doo-dah right now.
Nice.
Ernest going, this is the game where we should have at least 500 yards or more of total offense combined running and passing. If not, then it's a failure. Settle down there, Ernest. That's a long way to go on that.
I think that's actually zip it up. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he started off as zippity doo dah, but then when you end with it's a failure, he's actually saying 500 yards or zip it.
Yeah, 500 yards is a lot of yards.
It is, but it's doable.
It's a lot of yards. I have to go back and see what Ohio State ended up getting in their 52-point outburst against Akron in the season opener. Look, they should have a good offensive day. And again, I want to see, and it might not be perfect for everybody, but to help Robbie Ashford out, start with just quick screens out on the perimeter. Put your guys, Jared Brown, Mazeo Bennett, Jared Brown if he's healthy, Vandravius Jacobs, put them in one-on-one situations, go sideline to sideline, and also force your wide receivers to block early on. Do what you got to do to win. I don't want to say, just that's the game plan, and if it's not working, stick with it. But I think this is a game where not only are you telling your offensive line to man up, go out and shove around a zip or two, put it on the wide receivers, too. We're going to throw it out here, and you got to figure out how to block because we're going to need this moving forward.
Yeah, this is not a scheme game. You should have better athletes at majority of the positions on the field, so you should be able to call
the play you want to run.
Plays you want to run and run them. It shouldn't be dictated by what Akron's doing. You should be able to have better athletes and let your athletes go make plays, whether that's your offensive line being aggressive up front, wide receivers making plays in the one-on-one games. You should be able to do what you want to do in this type of game.
Real quick, Ohio State, again, they won 52-6. Friendly reminder, they were down 3-0 with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, so don't completely freak out if something is going wrong, although that still shouldn't happen. Ohio State, 404 total yards.
Okay.
So I'll say 400 is the mark that South Carolina should be at tomorrow. 500 seems a little excessive. Ohio State a little bit better. A couple more of y'all. Texter goes, zip it. We need to be angry going into SEC competition.
There we go.
Well, you can do both.
Listen, that person feels like they need to be zipped. That's how they feel.
Again, a few more weighing in here. Let me reread that before we read it on air, just to make sure I'm not going in a direction. Another texter weighs in and goes, Gamecock 77, Zips 0.
Ooh.
Wayne says that.
I would love to see it. Let's run out of fireworks again.
Brad goes, Sellers in. Zippity-doo-dah. Sellers out. Zip it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
803-404-6100. Keep sending those in. And also send in your superstitions. We played this from Shane Beamer earlier. Shane Beamer talking about his superstitions that he discovered he had. This is a coach. This is what live radio does to you, right, Preston Thorne? You're like, I'm not that. Oh, wait, here it is. This is Shane Beamer last night on his superstitions.
I say that I'm not, and then I saw that questioner, and I realized I have a lot. And it's more the family. So, well, Friday mornings is a little bit of a slower morning. We don't practice on Friday mornings, so I can go into the office a little bit later. So I always I take my 3 children to breakfast somewhere on Friday mornings in Columbia, and we stay with the same restaurant as long as we're winning. But then once you lose, you have to pick a new restaurant, so we'll be somewhere new tomorrow. And then I usually get home, and before I go in, Emily, my wife, and I will go for a walk, just the 2 of us, just to kind of catch up on the week, and we'll stay with the same route as long as we're winning, so we may have to mix it up. And then, and I'd say after that, the only other thing is we have 2 at our hotel in the room we eat in. We have 2 buffet lines for the players, so I'll stay in the same line as long as we're winning. So tomorrow night I'll have a different line that I'll get in as well. But other than that, I don't know.
Other than that, nothing. So basically 48 hours.
Yeah, so pretty much everything I do is based on. Yeah.
You know, I can't. Preston brought this up, and I can't help but laugh. We all know the son Hunter. Hunter's been out in front. We know Hunter, but he's got 2 daughters as well. And I'm with you. I can only imagine the 2 daughters are like, don't pick a breakfast place we like.
Yeah, I'm sure they actually run the house.
Like the 2 daughters. I can see the 2 daughters being like, come on, Dad. Like, I know we lost last week, but it's okay. It wasn't the restaurant's fault this time.
That's the other thing too. Nobody wants to lose because we know it probably changes the temperature in the house. But maybe if it's not a restaurant that's your favorite, it's like,
yeah, if it was
we're not going back there again. Oh,
or if it was a bad breakfast and they won, they're like, are you sure we gotta
come back here again?
Bacon wasn't crisp enough. So good job for Shane Beamer there. Totally understand. Hopefully it's donut places. 803-404-6100. Jen, let's get out to the phone lines. William wants to weigh in on the Akron game. William, zippity doo dah or zip it up?
Zippity doo dah. If honestly, I hope Lenore Sellers can play, but honestly, I don't think he should. I think he should sit out and fully recover because we're going to need him going down the stretch, especially against Ole Miss at home and Alabama and Oklahoma. I mean, that's going to be some of the best road game atmospheres that he's probably ever going to see. And I think it's going to be good for him to sit out and be healthy. But what I'm hoping to see this weekend is I want to see Robbie Asher throw the ball. We've seen him. We know he can run the ball, but I want to see short passes, screen passes. I want to see him air this thing out and show that he can throw the ball because if Lenore Sellers isn't able to play in the future and we have to resort to him, I don't want to see defenses just teeing off on him in the run. And I'll hang up, and thanks for taking my call. And my score prediction is 43-14.
Okay, 43-14. Not enough time to get to the bottom of how he got to the 43. But of course, actually with Shane Beamer, that actually makes a lot of sense where when you think about Shane, they score off the bat to make it 6-0 and go and fake the extra point.
Yeah, there's a way to
that. I actually see exactly how he can get to that because that makes a lot of sense with that. Your thoughts real quick on the running game.
Well, this is a game where I agree with the caller where if Robbie is playing, if he's playing, then let's not limit the playbook. Let's run the playbook and run the plays as designed because there's probably the best opportunity to see if he can do it against a different style of competition. So if he's playing, we don't know. I don't know. Then run the whole playbook.
The only thing I'll say is run the plays that I think suit him. And right now, unfortunately, you might have Marcus Satterfield flashbacks. I want to see to start the game at least a lot of passes kind of behind the line of, but not behind the guy where it becomes a fumble, but behind the line of scrimmage. Get him involved with some screens out there. I want to see them challenge the wide receivers and tight ends as well to block. You're going to need that. And so, plus, I'm really, these wide receivers are really growing on me. They're starting to make some plays. And I go back to the play at the end of the game last week where Vandravius Jacobs catches the pass over the middle. He's close to breaking that. He's close to breaking that and South Carolina hitting a touchdown if you go back. The 2 LSU guys had an angle on him, but if you watch from the start, their initial angle is wrong. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this dude can run.
Yeah.
And they adjust and they catch him because they're closing in at about midfield, if you watch. And all of a sudden, they've got to adjust and aim for him at about the 40. And it catches them. He's got speed. Jared Brown has made some really good catches if he goes tomorrow night. And then Mazeo Bennett is coming along. And then Dalvon Campbell has actually he caught that pass last week. I'd like to see more of it. I am not advocating to go out there and just chunk everything to Nick Harbor to see what he can do. But those four in particular, I'd like to see more about what they can do and getting them short, quick passes, much like they were doing with Lenore Sellers early on last week.
I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. You want to be able to see, especially, and you say to the blocking, but also can they take a play and maybe make an explosive out of something that's not necessarily supposed to be an explosive. That's something you want to see.
Even getting a guy like Juju McDowell in space and seeing what he can do. Let's back to the phone lines. Steve wants to weigh in this morning on the game. Steve, zippity-doo-dah? Zip it up.
Zippity-doo-dah all the way. Go Gamecocks.
Yes, sir.
This is part of superstitious, and tell me what you think. Paul Feinbaum said that the Gamecocks would have beat LSU if game day would not been here. Is that superstitious?
Well, looking at the record, we're 3-5 overall. I think I saw they were 3-5 overall with game day. So we do win with game day, but no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what Paul was saying.
I think Paul's just saying stuff to say stuff. Just saying stuff to say stuff.
Well, it made me feel good when he said it, though. But anyway.
Zippity-doo-dah.
All right.
All right. Have a good day, man.
You too. Thank you for the phone call, Steve. 803-404-6100. When we come back, though, we'll get into some high school highlights. Reminder, tonight we've got our Love Chevy High School football scoreboard with Justin Hall and Elijah Campbell. That's 7 o'clock tonight. And coming up next, we'll be joined by Chris Deering to talk about the high school highlights of the week. It is the early game.
Hey, this is Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. Had a great time going out there and visiting with the owners, Star and Audrey and Frankie. It's a woman-owned business in Lexington, and they are so great out there. They were so helpful with us when it came to choosing our accessories, choosing the kitchen cabinetry that we needed when we had to redo the kitchen. And I had an opportunity once again to visit their showroom and see all the different types of cabinets they have available, the different finishes, so much variety out there. You would not believe how many different types of ways to open a drawer as far as the pulls are concerned. But they had examples of pantries that you could, or actually where you could put your hampers within a cabinet, and just all kinds of functional specialties that they have for your kitchen and for your bedroom. So if you're looking to make any kind of changes in your home, maybe create an office workspace, chwcabinetry.com, or call them at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. And taking a look across the Midlands, not seeing any slowdowns, not seeing any accidents right now, and we hope it stays that way for you. Looking really good out there, so hopefully you're getting where you need to be efficiently. 87 for the high today, 88 tomorrow, and that means a very nice day for tailgating and for a game at 7:30 tomorrow night. And then tomorrow, or on Sunday, 91 will be the high, 89 on Monday, 67 currently on the early game.
Reminder, there is only a few craft beer cards left, and you can still get one. It's a $360 value for only $79. 12 different craft beer locations. $30 at each brewery is what you can spend. That equals $360, but you can purchase one for just $79. Go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals to purchase your craft beer card today. Let's get back out to the phone lines where our good buddy, our high school aficionado, Chris Deering, joins us. And Chris, I ask you first. We asked about superstitions. You've been around a lot of high school coaches. You've played high school football. Football is kind of your life. Did you have any superstitions when you were a Berkeley High Stag?
Yeah, I think I did. Probably more so in baseball than football. Same routine going up to bat. Had to do the same thing in the same order. And if things got out of whack, you fell off in the batter's box. So, yeah, you definitely there's superstition out there. And, my wife would tell you if things are going bad, we'll be watching the game on TV, I got to move or she's got to move. Somebody's got to move to make it right. I mean, something just is off in the universe. So but if things are going good, you better not get up.
There you go. That good superstition there. Very good superstition. So, speaking of which, we'll have a lot of games tonight. Should be a very nice night here in the Midlands. Weather shouldn't be too bad. And let's start with Preston Thorns, Somerville Green Wave, who will take on Chapin tonight.
Yeah, that's sort of a big one in the state. A lot of people have eyes on that one down in Flowertown. Chapin coming in undefeated, Somerville undefeated, and both offenses have really been playing at a high level this year. Chapin's actually averaging 50 points a game, and I think Somerville's are right around 41 or 42. So that's going to be a very interesting game with a lot of explosive skill people. Somerville's got Jaden Cummings at quarterback, Jaden Kelly Murray at wide receiver, Keyshawn Washington, a kid that they line up at running back, H-back, tight end. They'll split them out wide just to put them in all kind of different situations. I think he's a really good player that maybe he's getting overlooked in the recruiting cycles. But and then Chapin's can counter with Brady Albro, a quarterback that's been playing really well. I think he's over 1,000 yards for the season already. And, they got some skill guys as well, Kalen Bostic, Cole Martin at running back, Stone Ferry at wide receiver. So, I think points are going to be flying over there at John McKissick Field tonight. And, the winner's probably going to be in the 40s, and the loser might actually be in the 40s. So that's going to be one to really keep your eye on as far as how that one plays out and who comes out on top in that one.
Little battle of I-20 here, West Florence and Lugoff Elgin tonight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so this game is actually a region game. Region games are starting in quite a few regions across the state tonight. This happens to be one of them, Region 5, 5A. And, both of these teams come in at 3-1, and maybe a lot of people didn't think this is where they would be at this stage of the game going into region play, but they both played very well. I like this Lugoff Elgin team. I actually went out to one of their spring practices back in the spring. I hadn't seen them since then, but they got a lot of talent. A guy, Corey Murphy's got 3 interceptions already on the season. They are really big up front on the offensive line. Christian Smith and Daniel McCaskill are, they're 6'4", 6'5" kids, 280, 290 pounds, but they move really well. And then Eric Richardson at wide receiver has been good. So I expect Lugoff-Elgin to, compete in this region with several other teams. And West Florence comes in. Keyshawn Johnson, I think, is their quarterback, and he's filled in for the injured starter, but he's played really well. I think he was playing wide receiver before that, and so he can do a lot of different things. And last week, I think he threw for 228 yards in their win. They got another kid is Terry Lowry, Keelan Thomas. Those guys are really good, talented on the outside as receivers. So that should be a good one over in Lugoff as well.
Kind of here in the Midlands, Richland Northeast and Camden tonight should be a fun one.
Going into the season, I don't think a lot of people expected R&E to be 4-0 right now. They're ranked in the top 10. But the way Will Wilson's playing, I think I said this last week, I'm never counting them out of a game. We talked about them last Friday. They won that shootout last Thursday night against Nation Ford. They're going to put up points, and this is probably the best defense they've played yet in Camden. I'm looking forward to that wide receiver secondary matchup in this one. But back to Will Wilson, he's over 1,100 yards passing this year, over 400 yards rushing. I mean, no turnovers. That's just impressive stats through 4 games. But Blake Bennett, Dylan Huey, Isaiah Small, those guys are going up against, like I say, probably the best defense they've faced this year. JoJo Krim, he's got a lot of Power 5 offers, Power 4 offers. And Tyler Drakeford, those guys are really good in the secondary. So that's going to be, probably strength on strength in that game. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out too.
Yeah, I mean, and when I think about that game, I just think about it as a testament to what coaching can do for a program, because Walt and Coach Renf out there in Camden, they've both have done exceptional jobs at teams that have improved. You can look at their improvement and directly aligns with the hiring of a new football coach.
Exactly. And, one big thing about those two guys is they're going to play to their strengths. And I've watched both of them do it over the years. Camden's going to line up, and their quarterback's their leading rusher, Wyatt Thompson, and he's going to run the football tonight. He needs to protect it a little bit better. He's had some turnovers early in the season, but he's really good. And then, Walt Wilson's going to turn to his son, Will Wilson, to let him go. I was on the sideline. I stayed on the R&E sideline when they played Crestwood earlier. It's fun for me to watch these coaches and how they interact. And, I was standing right there next to the box, and Walt was getting ready to – he was calling the play, and he looked over at me. He said, all right, now watch this. And so that makes me laugh when they acknowledge me standing there and wanting to see what happens next. So it was fun to be on that sideline listening to Walt coach that night.
Fun one over in Swansea. The Barnwell team makes the trip up. They'll take on Swansea. A battle of 2 really good teams, some really great athletes. Your thoughts?
Yeah, another one that, Swansea we talked about last week. We didn't think they would be 4-0 at this point, but they've played really well. They haven't allowed more than 20 points in any game yet this season. Their defense is really good. William Geddes is the leading tackler. And they got 2 running backs that Tayshawn Charlie and Dante Caldwell, who's rushed for almost 700 yards between the 2 of them. So they keep it under ball control. And then, you talk about this Barnwell team, they're coming in 3-1. Cameron Austin, he's played a big role. Nehemiah Brown, Jaquan Peoples, those guys are running backs. They've played really good this year. They've got about 700 yards rushing between the 3 of them. And it'll be interesting to see how this Barnwell defense does against Swansea, if they can slow down that run and force them into a passing situation.
And one other one that you had here, AC Flora and South Point tonight.
Yeah, another. Again, that's a region game, starting the region play. That one's going to be really interesting with the 2 quarterbacks in that game. Cameron McMillan, we've talked about him in the past. He was the former quarterback at Fairfield Central. He transferred to South Point this year. he's missed time early this year. He came back last week, threw for over 200 yards against Northwestern. They lost that game 28-14, but he's back in the fold now. So I think South Point is probably going to get things rolling at this point. And then on the flip side, Roper Winsky at AC Flora, he's played really well this season. He's got some, weapons outside, and Kendall Bird and Trip Van Blake. Those guys are really good, really dynamic. And then Brandon Mack, their running back, probably had his best game of the season last year, about 190 yards rushing. So that was going to be, again, I think offense was going to be really good in those two games, or in that game, to see who can play the best defense to win it.
Before I let you out of here this morning, we'll go longer next week and get into kind of the mid-season stuff. Before I let you go, thoughts on Dutch Fork edge, potential linebacker Josh Smith, current Coastal Carolina commitment. Yesterday, South Carolina offers him potentially as a linebacker, listed at 6'2", 230 pounds. Your thoughts on the player that Josh Smith is over at Dutch Fork?
Yep, seen him play several times now. He's very long, very athletic. I saw that offer come through yesterday. I think he can play at the SEC level. I think he's got the body. He's got the type of body you need to play in the SEC. And he's going to get it. I mean, I don't know where he's going. He's a Coastal Carolina commit right now, like you said. But if he plays at South Carolina, I think he's going to be a contributor early. He flies around the ball. Dutch Fork's defense has allowed 7 points this year. Those guys are really good, and he's right there in the middle of it. He probably makes things go. So that's a big time offer for him, and I know he's got a couple other Power 4 offers. Let's see if he sticks with Coastal Carolina or not.
Chris, we always appreciate it, buddy. Tony Annan has stepped in studio. We got to talk to him about some stuff. We're definitely going to have you on next week, get a little bit longer, and get your thoughts on the as we really head toward mid-season here with high school football. Crazy that we've come along this far, but you mentioned it, region starting this week. We got October coming up, so a lot to get to next week with you.
Yep, sounds good. You guys have a great weekend.
Appreciate it.
Chris Deering for the high school highlights of the week. Reminder, tonight you can hear more on that 7 o'clock, the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show with Justin Hall and Elijah Campbell, where they will keep you up to date on all the scores and the action from around the state. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Coach has made his way into the studio. We're going to get to him. He's got a great matchup tonight. Number 10, Marshall, is rolling into town. His team has not lost a match yet. We'll talk with him about all that as we roll along this morning. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, and joined next by head men's soccer coach Tony Annan.
Preston here for our friends at Integrated Media. It's time to get ready. This is the perfect time to call, set your appointment, get ready for the bye week so you can be ready for the rest of the season. You can get your outdoors ready. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, or Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. And my personal favorite, you can control all your devices from just one remote. Call the folks at Integrated Media to get yourself ready for the rest of the season. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
It's Friday. The sun is trying to make its way out. The roads appear to be clear. So, yeah, what a great way to kind of get a step into the weekend. No accidents to report at this time. And a mix of clouds and sun today. 87 will be our high. Overnight low of 67. Tomorrow will be great. Mix of clouds and sun again. 88. Sunday, sunny and 91. It's 67 currently on the early game.
$7:35 as we get you up and get you going on your Friday morning. I want to remind you about the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. It is back, and it is currently all the money is in the pot, all $400. You can potentially win that $400 if South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown tomorrow. Someone will pocket the $400 again if South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown. Just go to 1075thegame.com and register today. Doesn't matter where you're at, here, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Greenville, wherever you're at, Augusta, and you could win the $400. Go to the 1075thegame.com website and get registered today for the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Again, $400 in that pot. If nobody scores, if South Carolina does not score a special teams touchdown tomorrow, guess what? Another $100 goes in the pot, and there'll be $500 in. So, again, go to 1075thegame.com and get registered for that. So, football game, reminder, we're doing vibe check from Preston Thorne. Zippity doo-dah. You're excited. You're feeling good. Zip it up. And a couple of y'all are weighing in this morning. Texter weighs in and says, zip it up. There's a reason why Robbie Ashford got benched and had to transfer. He can't throw the ball. Hope he does it well, but I don't see it. So continue to send those in as we roll along this morning. But joined now by a man who's got a really fun match tonight. This is kind of what you build your programs to be. Number 10, Marshall, comes in. They have one loss on the season. You are 4-0-2 on the season. And we talked earlier in the week, so I don't know what might have changed between, I think, Tuesday and today, but the last I saw, the number 2 scoring offense in the country.
Yes, still there.
Okay. A man, a few words. You and Clayton White go to the same media speaking school?
Well, I listen to his too. Yeah.
See, we got to understand. This
you
is
got me in season.
This is in-season coach.
I'm not
this is in-season coach. He's focused, man. And game is tonight. Yeah, this is in-season coach.
You mentioned you were listening to us coming in, so superstitions, and Shane was talking about with the kids and with the family, and then the meal line there at the hotel. Anything in particular for you?
Like him, I say I don't. Like, I'm like, oh, nothing affects it, But I do wear the same polo until we have a bad result. So I'll have the same gear on. People will be like, is that all you've got to wear? Yeah, I'm wearing the same polo. I tend to do the same routine before the game, sort of timing-wise. I don't do anything other than what I've been doing. Yeah, I mean, I've got others, but probably not that I need to share on air.
That's what I told you. Everybody keeps those things to themselves.
But is the consistency in a schedule or something like that, like you do the same things, is that just sort of like, because that's more mental preparation, like when a golfer approaches a shot, they do the exact same things? Is that what you're doing more than it being a superstition?
This season, probably, yeah, because my word was balance, right? Not to get too high, not to get too low. Mm-hmm. And I was really trying to keep my balance, is what I've been saying all season, with the guys, with staff, and myself. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit of that, but there's definitely some superstition in there for sure.
Okay.
And as a player, I was way more superstitious than I am as a coach.
That's really interesting, Coach. With the idea of balance, how do you balance the idea of this is just another game, but this is also a big opportunity? How do you do that?
Well, it's important that you have the players have the belief, right? So it's putting it on them to believe in what we're doing and buy into the tactics or the strategy or the game plan, whatever you want to call it. They need to believe to carry out that, right? So it's more about making sure you stay balanced with them so that they don't see panic, they don't see highs, they don't see lows, they don't see you getting too excited, they don't see you don't, even when you're low, you can't show them you're low, you know? So it's more of a balance with the locker room and the team. I think you probably don't know him, but Del Bosque, who was the Spanish national team, absolutely fantastic coach, and he said, you know, a good, healthy locker room is worth more than 10,000 hours on the pitch, tactically, right? Which, if you've got a good locker room and it's a balanced locker room and you've got some good balance in there and a good sort of feeling to it, then you may squeeze that extra 2-3% that you need. So when I talk about balance, I talk about making sure I'm in control so that it looks like I'm not fazed or not worried or not, and then try to spread that belief into the team and the players. And obviously our staff's incredible this year, so it's been easier.
How do you feel about that locker room? We've talked a lot, both whether it was on Gamecocks Plus or on this program, about you, I think, feeling more comfortable, and correct me if I'm wrong, but feeling more comfortable with your team and with your leadership this year than you had in the past.
Yeah, we've got some real experience in there, which has really helped. We've got some young guys, but we've got a real good mix of old and young. Guys that have played a lot of minutes, that have experienced the highs and lows of it, and the strain and the stress of it. So that has really helped the younger guys kind of buy in and understand what it takes from previous years. You know, we really honed in on character this year when we were recruiting. Like we had, I think I made a quote a few weeks back about not falling in love with the shiny toy, even though its attitude wasn't right and stuff like that. And I think that's really helped, that we haven't gone after certain players that we could have because of the things we found out about them or how they were or how they spoke to us. And I think that's made a huge difference because the locker room is a very sort of healthy place. And the players have, like I said, come together. There's 17 new guys in there, I think, and they've come together very quickly, which is, and some of it's been organic, some of it's been manufactured, but I think it's a result of getting the right players in the right places.
7 o'clock tonight at the Graveyard. First 100 fans can get a backyard soccer night poster. It'll be at the marketing table as you enter the stadium, and it's also for students. If you're listening this morning, it's a double point night where you can get double points for your membership there, for your student membership. Kind of going back to what Preston said, if you notice this week, we talk about it a lot, how different it is for now as opposed to when Preston played with social media. And I think back then y'all had to actually go pick up a newspaper to read stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now you just hop on the internet. Have you noticed your players where you've had to calm them down just a tad this week? Say, hey, guys, it's just another game. It's not like, how with a coach, I know you talked about how your mentality is, but how do you handle that with your guys?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because everybody wants the publicity and everybody wants the stories told and, you know, interest in the program. So it's a fine line of exposing the program in a way that you want to. And to be fair, our social media crew, who's Aishel, who is amazing, he has done an amazing job this year of really putting men's and women's soccer kind of at the forefront of their social media sort of cast. The funny thing is, I think it was Upstate 2 weeks ago, they posted something on their social media. Let's throw it back to last year when they gave us a 4-0 smashing. We had 10 men. We had a guy sent off in the 10th minute. So I thought it was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to use that. So I used that in our pre-match. Like, these guys are coming back to our stadium and saying they want to throw it back and give us another 4-0. Well, we got a man sent off again in the 10th minute again, but we beat them 4-0. So the social created this really cool video of, do you know the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he points at the TV?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it flashes up, it's their tweet. Nice. And he's pointing at it and they're like, oh no. And then it shows my face. And then it was like, it was a real dig back at them. And I refused to release it. And you talk about superstition, because my feeling is it'll always come back to you.
Right.
Just like it came back to them and all the lads. So we showed it in our team meeting, in our video meeting. They're like, oh, you've got to post that. We want to post that. And I'm like, no, we're not posting it. But
This is just for
it was internal. It was
Internal
good.
motivation. Absolutely.
It was great. So it was good. It was good blackboard material. But to answer your question, it's hard to control what they do on social. But you just try and tell them, look, if you have to think twice about putting something up, don't do it, right? If you have to think your grandmother wouldn't approve, don't do it. And you just try and guide them. But a lot of them want the exposure. They want their face. They want their pictures. But our social media teams cover the team amazingly this year, and the crowds and everything. So it's really built up the program.
803-404-6100 if you want to text in. When we come back, we'll give away another pair of tickets to tonight's match, 7 o'clock over at the Graveyard, number 10, Marshall in town. We'll get you some tickets and get a scouting report from Coach Annan. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. It's the goal of Larry Leitner and his team to always be thinking about your roof, to be worried about it. They know that's not something you think about all the time, but they are ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can give them a phone call. It's 7:45 right now on your Friday morning, and if you've discovered a leak, you need to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek, and they'll be there to take your phone call. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you give Mid-State Roofing a phone call, they're going to answer. Might be an on-call technician, might be a Mid-State Roofing employee. They are there, though, to help you. So, again, if you discover a leak, call 803-356-1919, whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial. Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. Give Mid-State Roofing a call today, 803-356-1919. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm, where they know if tax troubles are weighing you down, if they're causing you stress, they know how to fix it. They know how to navigate the IRS maze and help you lead a worry-free life. Let's be honest, nobody wants to deal with the IRS. And at the Ecton Law Firm, they want to help you. It starts with a free consultation, 803-771-9800. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Greenville, Charleston, wherever you are in this state, the Ecton Law Firm will have a local team dedicated to resolving your business or tax issues. They want to make sure, again, that you get that stress off of you, that you feel great, that you live in the life that you should. Nobody, again, wants to deal with the IRS. So call today to the Ecton Law Firm, where they've helped thousands of families and businesses just like you escape the IRS maze. Again, that number, 803-771-9800. Call the Ecton Law Firm today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Again, tonight, 7 o'clock, over at the Graveyard, number 10 Marshall rolls into town. South Carolina 4-0-2. Again, the first 100 fans can get a backyard soccer night poster when you walk in. And for students, it is a double points night. So if you attend the game, I'll be honest, I don't know all the details about being a student anymore. I think that's a good thing, Jen, Preston, Coach, that...
Yes, they get double points for other sport tickets.
Okay.
So,
It increases their chances that they can get tickets and better tickets.
Well, what I was going to say is, I don't know. It used to be, I think, if we had our just had our student ID back in the day, you just...
No, I think the demand for tickets is so high for football.
That was a long time ago, sir.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good thing I don't know now. I don't know. It's a good thing I don't know now. But let's give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to tonight. Coach, you got a particular number you want to go with?
Number 8.
Number 8. Caller number 8. Put a lot of pressure on Jen there. You win a pair of tickets to tonight's South Carolina Marshall soccer match over at the Graveyard, 7 o'clock. Go on. Get out there and tailgate a little bit. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get Coach's breakdown on Marshall here in just a second, but we'll talk about the more. I'll be interested to hear your take doing scouting. But right now, caller number 8, 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. And we'll take caller number 8, and they can win a pair of tickets. We just need your name. And we'll put it on a list there. You will not be emailed or sent tickets. All you do is go to the game, and you'll go to a certain table. We'll get you the information, and you will give your name and the name of the other person that is going with you, and you will be admitted there. So we will not be emailing you tickets, but that's the way it'll work. So call in, again, 803-404-6100 right now to win yourself a pair of tickets to tonight's South Carolina Marshall matchup over at the Graveyard. So speaking of that, what have you seen from them? Because this is a team, they're number 10 right now, but this has been one of the better teams for the last 4 or 5 years in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I mean, they're usually in the top 5, to be fair. They're a strong side. They've got some very good players. In the last few years, they've picked up their reputation hugely. They're always there and about. And like I said, they usually hang around in the top 5 for the whole season. They've slipped a little bit this year because they tied and they drew a game. So, yeah, I mean, I'm expecting probably one of the toughest games of our season. I mean, our conference is West Virginia, UCF, Kentucky, Marshall are always in that top 5. GMU this year in the top 25 as well. You know, we're on the fringes of it. We got votes this week. So, which has kind of put our guys back up a little bit because they all expected to be in the top 25 with their record. So, again, just fuel to the fire. is what I say. But it's they're a tough team. Be a very, very tough game. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of which, you just mentioned games you've already had matches with. Number 4, Clemson is ranked in the most recent poll. You mentioned Marshall is at number 10. Exhibition game, I know, but number 18 is North Carolina State, who is in there. James Madison is number 21. In the most recent poll, they've jumped in. You mentioned it. Y'all did receive some votes there for the top 25. So a game, obviously, that if you're able to win, maybe it propels y'all into the top 25. I know that's something you probably don't think about quite as much because you just, as you said right before you came on the last time, blinders. Once he got done with our show, he walked right out and put his blinders on for the season.
Yeah, this is in season. This is in season mode. But Coach, I got a question. You talked about Marshall. For somebody that might be going to this game for the first time and seeing you all play for this year, how do we know when y'all are playing well? What are we looking for from y'all's teams?
We should be winning 2-0 for playing well. Yeah, I mean, look, possession of the ball. They are a team that loves to have the ball, and they'll keep it for multiple passes in their own half to try and draw you out.
Gotcha.
It's kind of what their style is. They want you to come so they can play in behind you and play around the back of your pressure. That's them. They're a good side. They've got a good plan. If we have a good majority of the ball, if we keep possession well, and obviously, if we get the pressure on them and we can score goals, then we're playing pretty well. And you probably look at me and tell if we're playing well or not as well.
just gonna say, I mentioned. By the way, I mentioned that schedule also. Again, I know it was an exhibition, and I think y'all won 2-0. College of Charleston also in the top 25 this weekend.
They got beat off Furman though, so I think they'll be out again next week.
Okay,
they've done well, College of Charleston.
But you look at that. We'll come back on the other side. We'll ask Coach about injuries and play the part there from Shane Beamer. It's the early game.
No accidents to report right now. We are showing things pretty slow there. I-26 eastbound between St. Andrews Road and I-20. So typical malfunction junction issues there on I-26 eastbound. But aside from that, we're not really seeing any other slowdowns. And again, no accidents to report. So that's a wonderful morning for your Friday. 87 will be our high today, 88 tomorrow with a mix of clouds and sun. A very good day with regards to football and tailgating and all the things. Sunday, we're looking for 91. Right now, it's 67 on 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, certainly last Saturday was a physical game, and we had some guys that had some wear and tear, certainly, and normal bumps and bruises. We'll see as we get here to Saturday. Lenore, speaking to him specifically, he's done a little bit more in practice each day this week. He did more on Tuesday than what he did on Sunday. He did more on Wednesday than what he did on Tuesday, and he did more today than what he did yesterday. So we'll see how he is on Saturday, but he's progressing nicely. And then the other two that we're most concerned about would be Bengali Kamara and Jerry Brown. They're kind of in the same boat as Lenore. They both did a little bit more this week, or each day this week. And then as far as everybody else, we're good. Nick E's good. I know he got banged up last week. He's fine. TJ Sanders is fine. Emery Floyd will be back. Dre Jacobs will be good to go. And then Trevon and Gage are both a week healthier as well.
That was Shane Beamer last night. Carolina Calls, giving the breakdown for the team and what the health concerns are for tomorrow. Coach, you were on the sideline last Saturday hanging out. Real quick, your thoughts on just the growth of Lenore Sellers, what you've gotten to kind of just see from him when you've had time and not focused on your team.
Yeah, I had a great time. It was awesome. I didn't realize how good it was to watch a game from down there. It's so different. And I couldn't believe the size of those guys because I'm usually up high watching it, right? So I couldn't believe the size of Lenoris, by the way. He came past me. I was like, "Holy moly, he's a big boy!"
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought he was doing really well when he got his ankle twisted and he walked past limping. But I thought he did really well. Obviously, I was as angry as everybody with the referees, but I can't say much more than that.
I don't know if you can get fined.
I probably won't get in trouble, right? I could go right off on them.
Shane did say last night he wondered if there was a statute of limitations on when he could readdress the referees. That's a good one. I want to get to that with you. I think Preston's got something he wants to get with you on too. But I want to play this clip. This is from Shane last night. And Preston, having played college, has experience with this. You being a coach, I'm interested to hear your theory on this. This is Shane last night on determining or deciding if injured players would play or not. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Me, it's you've got to be able to do something on Tuesday or Wednesday. Right. I just think it's hard for a God not to. We practice Sundays, so I think it's hard for a God to not do anything Sunday. Monday's off, but to not do anything on Tuesday or Wednesday when that's the bulk of the game plan, and then to be able to go out there just on Thursday, which for us is a lighter practice. It's more red zone work. I just think it's tough to expect them to be able to perform well on Saturday Now, I think every situation is a case-by-case basis, and every young man's different. But our general policy is that you've got to be able to, doesn't mean you do the whole practice, but you've got to be able to do something not limited maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday for us to feel confident putting you in a game on Saturday. And I think the other thing, too, is just making sure I never wanted to have a culture where, okay, you get banged up in the game before on Saturday, then you don't do anything the whole week of practice, and there you are back out there on Saturday. And your teammates see that, and I didn't want that to become a pattern around here, and it hasn't. So our guys are pretty good about, and I'll say it in meetings, look, if he can't do anything on Tuesday or Wednesday, we're not playing him Saturday, and they know that.
How do you take that as, I'm not talking about your thoughts on Shane Beamer's thoughts there, but how do you handle it with your team? Because you've talked about it, soccer, the amount of running, everything that takes place, and it's still kind of a quick turnaround for your guys.
Yeah, I mean, the turnaround for us is ridiculous. As many games as we play in a week. They play once a week, and obviously they get banged up a lot more than we do because they're smashing into each other, but it's crazy how the soccer schedule in college gives you 72 to maybe 3 or 4 days at the most, which is usually the usual recovery time in the pros. But I'm with him 100%. If you don't train 2 days before the game, there's no way you're playing. Because that's, again, he mentioned the culture thing as well. I think that's where like a prima donna would be, oh, well, I'm going to take a few days off and then I'm going to come back in, I'm going to play, and that just spreads through your team in a bad way. So, again, for me, we had a couple of guys at the beginning of the week who said, oh, I've got a cold, my throat hurts, my nose is running. And like, okay, take today off. And if you don't train tomorrow and if you don't train the next day, then you won't play in the game. It's as simple as that. And obviously there's different situations, different injuries, and you're hoping that they'll get back. But, yeah, 2-session minimum, really, before you start a game.
Are you willing to be on a case-by-case basis with, say, an ankle or, a knee?
Well, yeah, I am. I'm willing, but at the end of the day, if you can't perform the day before the game, there's no way you're performing in the game, right? You can push through the pain barrier and all that, but you've also got to realise that if you do push through it, it's just going to get worse. So a short term, you might get him in for the short term, but you might not have him for the next 2 weeks after that. So as a coach, you've got to play that game. But I'm a big believer in you need to train before you play, and that's across the team. So then it stops the, want of a better word, the prima donna saying, oh, I'm just going to take it easy this week and he'll play me. It stops that in its tracks.
Preston, I feel like maybe that precedent was really set for Lou Holtz in 2000. Phil Petty, we know, rolled his ankle against Mississippi State. The play that would happen next is legendary in South Carolina lore. Eric Kimry comes in and throws the fade. The following week, y'all went to Alabama. And I remember very, very vividly being a freshman in college, and I had a class down at the Coliseum, and they had a little eating area down there kind of underneath, and I remember seeing Phil Petty, and he did not look healthy. And this was, I think, maybe before message boards or whatever, but I remember telling some family members, some friends, like, man, I don't think Petty's going to play. He looks really injured. And, I didn't know at the time if Kimry would be able to hold up under going to Alabama. Do you remember that week with Petty and dealing with that ankle injury?
I don't remember that specific week, but much like Coach Beamer said, much like Coach said over here, Lou was pretty hard and fast on that. If you didn't practice by our practice schedule was a little bit different because we didn't practice on Sundays. But if you didn't practice by Wednesday, you were not playing. Now, again, like I said, sometimes coaches would try and say that a guy was practicing and maybe he wasn't doing all of the things just to kind of get out of Lou's way, just kind of clear that. But if you didn't practice by Wednesday, if you weren't dressed out for full reps, then you weren't going.
So in that game in particular, in the Alabama game, I believe Petty came back in the second half, and y'all made a run and came back and had a chance to win, and then the running back for them.
Well, in that case, and I don't remember exactly that week, for a quarterback doing something might mean, okay, he's doing drills and he's throwing the ball. He might not be doing all of the team stuff, but he's doing something. And that was probably Skip just like, hey, Phil, we need you to get in there just to show the old man that you can go. and he's going to travel. And also, case-by-case basis, that's the quarterback.
Right.
It's a little bit of different exception from maybe a nose guard or something like that. That's why they say case-by-case.
Well, and also I would assume Lenore Sellers is a redshirt freshman. If he was a senior who had been here 4 years,
there's another,
maybe even a redshirt, go ahead.
I could give you an example, right? Harrison Myron, our centre forward, is one of the top scorers in the country at the moment, and he's doing really well, and he's confident, and he's buzzing, and he had a bit of a soft tissue, right? So he didn't train for a week. But towards the last game, towards East Tennessee, in the last couple of sessions of the week, he said, I'm feeling great. And Josh, our young assistant, was like, are we going to play Harrison? I said, no. He said, why? He's on fire. I said, yes, but it's a soft tissue. He hasn't trained for a week. He could train today, the day before the game. We could put him in, he could do it again. Or we could leave him another week and we could have him for Marshall. So there's those kind of situations as well, right? Where you just say, look, the health of the player, long term, if we give him another few days and we can get by without him, then let's do that.
And you bring up a great point on that, because not to put East Tennessee down, East Tennessee State, but it would be, I guess, similar to playing Akron, who I think is, what did we say yesterday, like 4 of 4 in their life with Joe Moorhead.
They do not have a good record.
It's been bad. But you have now conference play, not only Marshall, but you have conference play coming up where if Harrison re-injured himself, he could be out 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and he might still. We don't know that. But at least we've done everything we can to put him in the best place he could possibly be.
And I say that because, by the way, you mentioned the turnaround. I was just looking at this. I didn't realize the turnaround for y'all, Friday to Tuesday. Friday tonight against Marshall, and then you got Queens University coming in on Tuesday when you talk about that turnaround time and any potential injuries.
It's usually Saturday to Tuesday. The only reason we're Friday is because, obviously, the football game tomorrow. So we moved Marshall to Friday. So we get an extra day. But usually it's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Or Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, all the way through the season. And it takes a soccer player a minimum of 72 hours to get back to the standard median, like back to recovered, right? So if you think about that, it takes, we're taking 2-3 days to get back to where you're just okay. And then you're playing again. So the schedule doesn't allow for the appropriate time or training, because you then you start under training because you can't push the training sessions because they're ready for a game in 3 days. So there's a lot wrong with the schedule. Not that we can do anything about it, but it's not great.
Preston, do you want to ballpark? I don't think you're a doctor. That would be a great surprise to me. But what do you think the recovery time for a healthy football player is? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday?
It's probably Wednesday. I would say that it's going to be Wednesday before you start to get over the old aches and pains and get into the new things of what you're feeling. I was likening it to like your battery charging. You can charge it up, but just like Coach said, you're never going to be fully charged throughout the season. So you're just trying to get back to maybe that baseline, but you're just going to have stuff throughout the year. But it's probably about Tuesday, Wednesday before you start to feel normal again.
Yeah, here's an example, right? Most people probably won't know this if they're a casual soccer fan. Our central midfielder did 14K. 14K in the game. Okay, he now has to turn around and do it again 4 days later, and he'll probably do 12 to 14K again. And that's a central midfielder. So every 3 to 4 days, this player is doing 14K distance.
Right.
That's without being hit, stopping, accelerating, decelerating, changing direction, force through the ground, getting bumped. Playing with 10 men, right? For 2 games we played for 10. That 14K is because we had 10 men. He's now got to turn around and do it 3 days later. That's the gravity of it. That's how much they're doing. I mean, imagine running 14K every 3 days. And, in a soccer cleat, on grass, changing direction, accelerating, stopping, running, sprinting. It's nuts.
I feel like
he could have stopped the sentence at imagine running 14K.
I started laughing because I was like, I don't know when I've ever run close. I don't know what 14K is. I have no clue what that is in distance. I was like, no, I can't imagine that, and I'm pretty sure I'll never do that at my age now. What both of you have just said, though, I now there's just no way you play Lenore Sellers. Part of it is what you said about you look at your schedule. South Carolina will have a bye week next week. And this goes back to what Preston and I said. You put Robbie Ashford out there, but it's on the coaches to take care of him. It'll be on Dow Loggins tomorrow night. A couple people have weighed in on that. One of the texters saying Dow needs to make it a 2.5-hour game, which is basically just run the ball. Just go out there. Don't bother trying to do anything else. Just run the ball. I think you got to go out and let him throw. I think you go out. This was Michael that said power, ISO, pin and pull, inside zone, outside zone, anything else would be criminal. I think you got to let them throw the ball out on the perimeter, as I've said, to those wide receivers and get Vandrevius Jacobs and Jared Brown, if he in plays, Mazeo Bennett, into one-on-one situations and let them go. We'll come back. We'll talk more about that. Preston's got a story time.
Yeah, a little story time about playing not great teams.
Okay, and we'll see how that compares because, Coach, you've played professionally, and, well, there's certain times you have to play someone like a Tottenham who's better get it going. Might want to get it going. We'll get into a little bit of that, talk a little Premier League, too, as they get going again and continue on. Vibe check. Remember Vibe check. Zippity-doo-dah. Zip it up. Where do you feel going into tomorrow's game? Text weighs in. Zippity-doo-dah. 425 yards and Gamecocks by 90. There you go. Positivity to its fullest. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, joined in studio by Coach Tony Annan. It is the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, Absolute Glass can handle the job. If you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass could take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So remember, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're at school, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, Absolute Glass will do the job, take care of it for you, replace it for you, and you won't have any headaches. So call the folks, visit the folks online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Still kind of slow going there. I-26 eastbound, around Malfunction Junction, and things are actually continuing kind of backed up really for a few miles. Sort of standard for that area, but we are seeing slow-moving traffic as far back as about mile marker 105. As far as forecast goes, things looking pretty nice, though. It's going to be 87 today, 88 tomorrow. Beautiful day for tailgating, for the game, and all of that. 91 on Sunday. It's staying kind of steady at 68 right now.
$8:20 as we roll along. Remember, September is Hunger Action Month. The game in Hardee's. Teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So again, the game and Hardee's teaming up here for Hunger Action Month. All you need to do is go to your local Hardee's, round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount, and again, all donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So that's how you can do that as we get you up. Get you going, talking a little bit about South Carolina and Akron, and also talking a little bit of soccer, and we'll get into a little bit of Premier League here in just a minute as well. But Preston's got a little bit of story time. Preston Thorne, what do you got for us as well?
We're playing Akron this week, and Akron is not good.
No, they're
Matter
not.
of fact, they might be one of the worst teams we're playing on the schedule. However, as fans, we can overlook this game and look towards the bye week and look towards Ole Miss and the stretch forward. Players don't have that luxury because football is different than every other sport. Because quite literally, you can be done on any single play. And so we were playing the University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Oh, yeah.
They were not good at that time. They weren't this good. They were actually the worst team. I believe the final score of the game was like 41-13. But you know what happened that game?
Your injury?
Split buck blue, Preston Thorne, ACL, MCL, meniscus, everything that you can think of on my knee. At that time, against the worst team on our schedule, I got injured and was out for the rest of the season. And so as fans, and I'm a fan now, so I can do this, but as a player, especially playing football, you cannot afford to look past any team or any play because they say it cliche all the time. Your last play could be your last. Your next play could be your last. You don't know when your last play is coming. And quite literally in football, you don't. And so any of those players that are thinking like, oh man, we got Ole Miss coming, we got this SEC schedule coming, they do not have that luxury. We do as fans. Players do not, because take it from me, it could be the worst team on your schedule against the worst player. In fact, it might be because he's the worst player and he cannot block you and because he cannot keep his feet and they're trying to do whatever they can. You can have that moment. So yeah, 80,000 people screaming and cheering. And you know what? The thing about this is, as a guy that got hurt against the worst team that we played against, you know what happened? Oh, matter of fact, you know what didn't happen? Nothing. The game kept going. They sent in my replacement. Nobody cheered. There wasn't a moment of silence for Preston laying on the ground. Nothing.
Did you have to get stretchered off, or did you?
First of all, I came up in an era of football where unless you were paralyzed, you do not lay on the field. So one of my proudest accomplishments was that I hopped off the field on one leg because that's not my leg. Okay. My leg was like a swinging gate. Yeah. If you want to do the graphic, my leg was over this way, going one way, making a perpendicular turn. Right, Bill. My foot goes this way. Yeah. The foot was pointing that way, but I got up and hopped off the field because I'm a man, and that's what we used to consider manly back then. I wouldn't advise it now, but all I'm saying is, players, you're not listening, but anybody out there, you cannot take a game like Akron. You can't take it for granted.
Well, yeah,
because you could get injured.
I mean, I've always heard that it's a physical sport, and if your mind is not mentally into it, and you kind of lay off for a minute, it doesn't take much to get an ankle rolled up, to get an ACL or an MCL or a PCL popped, and then there goes your season. And that is another big part of Saturday. You got to do whatever you got to do to win. You do whatever you got to do to win, but you also want to come out of this game healthy.
Well, that's why you can't even worry about it. That's why you got to go into this game to dominate. You go in there and dominate. You play them as any other game. That's part of being mature in your competition. Mature. You don't face this team. You don't play any differently than this team. You go out there to dominate them, and don't worry about it coming out of it healthy. You go in there to dominate and see how it goes on the other side.
Coach, we've watched you the last few months. You, from playing your time, have had ankle issues. Was that gradual, or did you suffer an injury in a match that jump-started that whole ankle thing that you can remember, similar to Preston?
Yeah, I broke it when I was 18, and I think that was the start. That was the beginning of the end, right? Then I had 4 surgeries between the ages of 22 and 49. Because I had one when I was 49, right?
Okay.
And then this. Yeah. So this is my 4th surgery on that ankle. And it's just, I tore my ACL on my right, and I think that may have had something to do with my left ankle being now. As a player, you don't realise that, but as a coach and as an adult.
Did you broke the ankle and tore the ACL? Not at the same time, but in matches?
It was years apart.
That's what I'm saying, but was it in match? Do you remember the matches? Do you remember like who you were playing? And
I remember the match. It was against Aston Villa.
Oh, okay.
That's when I broke my ankle. And then I remember the ACL was against Birmingham Southern in the NAIA.
There you go.
And it was in the quarter-final or semi-final of the Nationals. And I remember the knee going then. But yeah, I think to Preston, it's one quarter at a time, it's one half at a time, all the time. You can't look past.
Shane's been pretty good about having his team focused. Is there, as a coach, is there something you do that if you're not playing? I mean, I assume it's easy for your guys to look at the schedule and say, "Oh, number 10, Marshall." They know the implications of tonight's game. They know the fun that it will be involved in playing a great team. Is there something you do as a coach when you play, say, a lesser team to keep them motivated or to keep them focused? Something you tell them that maybe Shane or even when Lamont plays some of these early season games? We're not far away, by the way, from North Florida to start the season. Yeah. But is there something that you do personally that, hey, guys, I realize maybe this one doesn't excite you as much as Clemson or Marshall or West Virginia. Something there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's constant motivation. It's constant keeping the feet on the ground. It's constant. I mean, I have a big saying, which I took from one of my coaches when I was younger, was when you think you've got the game figured out and when you think you're on a roll, it'll kick you right in the teeth. And I say that to them all the time. You know, if you take your foot off the gas, something will happen that puts you right back in your place. So don't leave your station. Don't let your feet don't believe the hype. Just, it's all about, again, going back to the word balance. Every game's important. Every game's really important to you and to the team. And just try to keep yourself as level as you can. Don't get too high. Don't believe in the hype. Don't get excited. You know, it took me a lot to come on here today because I don't want to come on here thinking, oh, we haven't been beaten in 10 games since pre-season started. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to just focus on the next half. Nathan, my assistant coach, has done a great job this year. Let's just take it a half at a time. You know, and I mean, that's kind of where we're at. Just let's one half at a time.
Let's get a little Premier League questions in here real quick. Got about a minute and a half real quick. I hope I'm not offending anybody with this because I have no clue what I'm about to read. It may as well be Spanish. It says, this is from Walt. Question for Coach Hannon. Assuming Isaac plays, would you start Gordon and Barnes this weekend against Fulham? If so, who plays which wing position and why?
Great question.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, let's hit a break, then come back. So thankfully that's a legitimate question, and I didn't just read something completely inappropriate on it.
Mad libs.
It's Fulham, not Fulham. So
hey,
other than that, you did well.
As long as everything I said is legitimate and I didn't just read something that's a big joke or something, I feel good. We'll get to that. I also got a question here on Ask Coach How Long Sam. Is it Sam Dyke?
Sean Dyche.
Okay, well, Sam. I definitely can read Sam, but how long, well, as you said, it's Sean Dyche will last at Everton. So that'll be those.
Sean Dyche.
All right, we'll do a little Premier League talk when we come back. Maybe do a small ceremony for Preston Thorne because Tottenham is, it's not good right now. 803-404-6100. It's the early game.
still looking really good out there this morning on the highways. No major slowdowns or accidents to speak of. And as far as the weather goes, man, just doesn't get much better. 87 today. Going to be 88 tomorrow, that overnight low of 66. And perfect day for tailgating and for the game. Kickoff at 7:30. Sunday, 91 for the high under mostly sunny skies. And then we stay really in the upper 80s to start out the work week. Right now, though, 68.
Reminder, we got Sips and Sounds coming up next Saturday night, September the 28th. It is unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, and spirits. You'll have a live performance by Ken and Drew of Sister Hazel and Dazer and the Donovan twins. That'll be next Saturday night by week, September the 28th. Get your unlimited tasting wristbands now at sipsandsoundscola.com. Again, you can sample over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, and spirits. Just go to sipsandsoundscola.com and purchase your unlimited tasting wristbands now. 803-404-6100. All right, let's go back. Let's do a little Premier League here real quick, and let's start with a question that I probably was a little more nervous reading than I should have been, but asking about your Newcastle team there and some of the different moves that were being made. Isaac, assuming Isaac plays, this is from Walt, assuming Isaac plays, would you start Gordon and Barnes this weekend against Fulham?
Fulham.
Say it quicker is what you're telling me.
Fulham.
Is it Fulham?
No, it's Fulham.
Fulham. Yeah, just say it.
I'm so sorry, Tony.
No, I get it. So I was trying to, I don't want to say enunciate, but I was slowing it down, but I just need to say it. Just Fulham.
There you go.
Fulham, yeah. Don't try and slow it down and be, I got it.
Depends where you're from, because if you're from
I'm from South Carolina, Tony.
From the rich area of London, that would be Fulham.
That's, I think, the way I was trying to say it.
Yes, you're trying to be...
fancier than he really
trying to be,
is.
Exactly. So, all right, so
Okay.
real quick, if so, who plays which wing position?
I would say you play Isaac, Gordon, and Barnes. That would be an amazing front three. But I do like Murphy, but I think Barnes gives you more. There you go.
And if so, which plays which wing position?
Ooh, another good question.
Do we have time for that answer?
Yeah, I'd put Gordon on the right, because Barnes coming in on his right foot is pretty dangerous, but I think Gordon can play either way.
Okay. And then, as we discovered, we had a wrong name here, but it was Sean Dyche for Everton. How long will he last there?
If things keep going the way he's going, not long. I mean, it'll be another few games. If he doesn't pull it out, he's going to get clipped, I'm pretty sure.
And then your thoughts. I know you're fully invested. When you're fully invested with your season like this, is it a matter of just walking by the TV and seeing, oh, okay, here's what's going on for 10 minutes?
No.
I'm interested,
no.
like in one of the things, and we have, I can't remember if we played it or not, but pre- and post-game rituals with Coach Beamer last night, he talked about like coming home last week after the LSU game and going in his backyard and watching the game, and he talks about watching some game day prior to leaving the hotel and doing this. Do you watch a lot of other, Premier League soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody will tell you if you're truly into what you do, you're obsessed with it, right? Whether it's, a game on the park when you're walking by or on TV. But I think I watch more football than most people I know. I got up at 5 a.m. after the East Tennessee game, I think it was, and watched that at 5 a.m. Then the kids got up and went, what are you doing? I've been up watching the game. I mean, that's how I watch a game back. So I think, I watch a lot. And usually I watch on game day. If it's a Saturday, I watch other sports too, just to take my mind off what I'm thinking about and relax, put myself in a balanced mode. But I watch as much as I can.
Let me ask you this. We talked about this week, and Preston, you can kind of weigh in because you, again, as a player, I can't relate to either of you two on this. But as a coach, when you see a game like what occurred for Shane and his team last week, how easy is it it's easy for us to say, well, just put it behind you. Just on Tuesday, move on. But when you have a game like that, how difficult is it for you to move on, and also then to turn around and say, hey guys, we got to move on, because it's not just you that has to move. You've got to get your team to move on.
Yeah, I've got two answers for that. The first one is watching it from the sideline and watching Shane. I watched Shane more than I was watching the game almost, because I was kind of just seeing how he handled everything. There was a few guys behind me that were fans. You know, they weren't coaching staff. They weren't, I was stood beside Lamont and Dawn and a few others, but there was a lot of just fans. And I was kind of getting aggravated by them sort of being negative about stuff. And I'm like, come on. I mean, and I understand they're fans. They can complain about what they want. But it was kind of frustrating me to hear them behind me sort of knock everything that was wrong, and I'm like, God almighty, this doesn't, Anyway, I forgot the question.
But it's funny, they're not coaches, are they?
No, they're not coaches. But that's what I'm saying. You kind of feel...
He's not, by the way, just to be clear, you were not talking about Lamont and Dawn being...
No,
you were talking about fans.
Lamont and I actually said, have you heard these behind us? Because they don't coach. So they don't know what it's like to be in that position. But they just wanted to knock everything we were doing. And I'm just like, come on.
Exactly.
Calm down. But that's their privilege.
But no, the question that I was asking is how, as a coach, again, what I said is this week, Preston and I said, well, we can continue to talk about LSU. Coaches and players have to move on.
You have to put it behind you. Because if you linger...
Is it as easy as what you just said?
No, it's not easy. Because you want to go back and you want to relive it and you want to think back and say, right, what if we'd done that? What if we did this? That ref sent that guy off for us and he shouldn't have been, and that put us in that position. It's like our Jacksonville game that got rained out. I felt really slighted by that, and I held it for a few more days, and I should have, because it was a win for us. It was a win on our record. It was a great win for the team. It was goals for Harrison. There was a lot of stuff tied up in it, and they just refused to play the second half. And that really bothered me. So I had to let go of that. If you hold on to it, it drags you back from what you need to do next, right? So you have to let it go. And I had an old coach years ago that said, hey, listen, the sun's always coming up tomorrow. Forget it, move on. It's a loss, or you got slighted, you got done wrong. You've just got to move on. You can't keep that negative energy with you, otherwise it'll drag you down, and you're not focused for the next game.
Yeah, I think it's probably easier to do as a player because you're young and I'll keep repeating, kind of stupid. So you just, you're going on to play the next game and you're just ready to move on and you're living in that moment. I think maybe as an adult, maybe you recognize that that these things don't happen, or maybe you understand the gravity of this situation. So you might, as a coach, you might be dwelling on it a little bit more than the players, because the players, they're kind of like goldfish. They're ready to move. They're going on to the next thing.
Yeah, you see some players laughing and joking after a loss.
Yeah, they're like, they've moved on.
That's quick.
Yeah.
That is quick.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, nothing gets a coach more fired up than seeing players like, y'all like to see what just happened here.
What about the guy that when you lose 3-1, but the guy scores a penalty kick in the game, and by the time we got on the bus, he had posted his penalty kick highlight on Instagram, and I'm like, we just lost 3-1 and you're posting your penalty kick? I'm like, But again, they just say, it's all about me and I'm moving on.
Yeah, players I think players they can move on pretty quick.
Coach has a responsibility, right? Especially like Shane, who's in the media, or Lamont, who's big time in the media. Those guys, the media kind of hold on to that. So they've got to put all that aside, right? Because the pressure on them to bounce back is huge.
Yeah, tomorrow night it will be an opportunity. South Carolina's got to bounce back. The guys have got to come out. Is there anything you say after a game like that? Because I feel like you try and push them to be almost more motivated right at the beginning, like to not have a fear of malaise or to come out kind of sluggish.
Good word, Bill.
Yeah.
Can't get some right, can get others right. But to come out and not be slow. I tell you, we'll come back. We'll wrap up with you as we wrap it up again. South Carolina and Marshall tonight, 7 o'clock, the Graveyard. Students get double points if they go, and you can also get, they're offering 100 free posters prior to the game. You can go and get 100 free posters. It starts at 7 o'clock. I'll even give a plug for our good buddy, Brian Glenn, a Village Idiot. You can go down there and grab some pizza and then walk up to the game. So we'll come back. We'll wrap it up with Coach Annan, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Akron game tomorrow night as well. Soccer tonight, football tomorrow night, a big weekend. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. We're for nearly 30 years. Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and it's that proven history that is your assurance that they'll get the job done in a timely fashion that will meet the expectations that you will have. They'll provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing. And again, it will more than meet the expectations you have. That is exactly why Mid-State Roofing has been the leader for 30 years in the roofing and waterproofing industry. So whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Somebody's there to answer your phone call. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Call Mid-State Roofing today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. John Ecton and his team, they're in the business of taking stress away from you, specifically stress from dealing with the IRS. If you or your business has received one of those nasty notices from the IRS threatening to impose a fine or any other issues, it's time for you to call John Ecton and his team and talk to them. Let them give you the first steps towards a worry-free life. So call today for a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Don't let the IRS concern you about levy notices. Call the Ecton Law Firm and talk to them today, whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Greenville, Charleston, wherever you're at. The Ecton Law Firm has proven local solutions ready to help you. 803-771-9800. That's how you can reach the Ecton Law Firm. Call them today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Don't forget, go visit Terry and Tyler tomorrow. Gamecocks Game Day, sponsored by Lexington Medical Orthopedic. It'll be at the party lot at Sound and Images. It'll start at 2:30. So go on out. Any unused of your tailgating supplies from last week that are rotten and molded, stop by. Don't throw them at Tyler. Throw them at Terry. 2:30 tomorrow, Gamecocks Game Day, sponsored by Lexington Medical Orthopedic. They will be out at the party lot at Sound and Images, kicking off our game day coverage, so you can go by and hang out with them. Again, tomorrow, 2:30, the Gamecocks Game Day, sponsored by Lexington Medical Orthopedic, from the party lot at Sound and Images. Wrapping things up here, so let's start with you, Coach, and you're pretty calm. I mean, we've noticed you're a pretty even-keeled guy, at least in here with us. There's no really getting away with it. I know you're in here with us. I don't know whether you'll admit it or not, but we would if you weren't here. Talk about the excitement for tonight's match. It's a different match than, say, East Tennessee State or that. How do you feel? What is it like when you wake up and you get a match here against a Marshall or a conference opponent, as opposed to somebody else that's maybe a non-conference opponent?
Yeah, I mean, being truthful about it, I have anxiety about every game. I have a little moment, maybe an hour of the day, where I just feel anxious about what could happen, scenarios running through your head, and, you know, what would be the result of this? What would be the result of that? How could we do this? And I get a little anxious. But closer to game day, it goes away, and it just sort of, I get it, like I say, I get a calm over me, and I'm just laser focused on trying to do the right things. And I say to the guys all the time, we don't set goals. We don't set what we want to win and this, that, the other. We set, if you do the right things and you do what you're good at and you feel valued and you feel loved and you feel part of something, everything else will take care of itself. Like, you know, and there'll be ups and downs, there'll be highs and lows, but if you can continuously do that, you will take care of things and things will take care of you. And that's kind of where I've evolved during my career, to that point where I used to be really tight and really tense. I just kind of managed to work on some stuff with help to get to a point where I try and just stay calm. I get quiet. Like, the guys will ask me, "Are you okay?" My staff say, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Just do your thing."
Let me ask you this, and I don't mean this as an insult, but it's more of a teaching lesson for people who aren't familiar with college soccer. Draws are available. There's no extra time. And Preston, is there a good draw and a bad draw when people look, if they're there tonight and they see it, because Marshall's a top 10 team? Is there such thing as a good draw where you walk away and you go, okay, that's happy? And I'm not asking for specific examples, but is there a good draw and a bad draw, and how does that fit with tonight?
It depends where your team's at. I think in the past, if you'd sort of said, would you take a draw with Clemson, would you take a draw with Marshall before the game, I'd probably say, yeah, that'd be a good result, I guess. But as you move along, you know, you want to win these games. You have to win these games. That's what
this is a resume builder for the tournament.
For the team, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, the reputation of a team, reputation of the program, you want to win these games. I mean, a bad draw is where you're winning comfortably and you make a mistake and you end up tying the game. That's what I would call a bad draw. But, yeah, I mean, as your team evolves and as you get more tenured in your job, and draws become, they are good results in some situations.
Right.
Most of the time, you obviously want to win the game.
Preston, so real quick, we'll switch to football here in just a second, but good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Definitely look forward to seeing how it is. You should have a packed environment out there. Again, going to be a lot of fun. Get out there. Starts at 7 o'clock at the Graveyard. Again, first 100 fans can get a backyard soccer night poster and double points for students as they show up. Yeah. Preston, in terms of football this weekend, what do we look for?
You want to look for them to go out there and dominate early. You want to look for them to go out there, execute their fundamentals, clean up some of the penalties, some of the stupid things that they've done in the previous games. You want to play a cleaner game, and you want to go out there and execute all of your game plans, being in control, running the plays that you want to run, and not have the game dictated to you. You don't, as Coach Holtz would say, there's no obligation for this to be close. All right, so they can get this over pretty early.
I want to see them run the ball. I want to see the offensive line play like the group that's been improving. And as I said, I kind of want to see them set up Robbie Ashford for success. Short passes starting early on. Make it easy for him. Get him comfortable. So we'll see how that goes. Coach, we appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Appreciate
Make sure
you,
you get out there to the graveyard tonight. 7 o'clock, Marshall, number 10 in town. Go support the Gamecocks and Coach Annan. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll revisit all of this on Monday.
Zippity-doo-dah.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. That's right. They are in the business of providing healthy services, one patient at a time. Guys, as we get older, look, we start to change a little bit. You can experience brain fog. Good Lord, if you listen to this program, you've heard me do that before. Maybe you are not recovering from workouts quick enough. Maybe you're gaining weight and you're not even sure why. We all have different reasons as we get older to maybe speak with Dr. Dan Balknight. One of the best reasons is because at the Men's Clinic, they want you to live your best life, and that means achieving optimal health and wellness and treating each patient individually. You are not generic. Why should you receive generic health care? Go to Dr. Dan Balknight today, where if there's something a little personal, a little private, you can speak with Dr. Dan Balknight at the Men's Clinic. Line up an appointment today, 803-8